Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Break the Cycle with me, your host, Joshua Smith. I hope everyone's having a wonderful Saturday night. I told you guys we'd have another stream this week. I told you it'd probably be Saturday. We also want to do some streams throughout the week. That's going to probably happen with the triumphant return of Ryan and AJ. Hopefully by next week. It'll just depend if we get their spots set up or not. We're going to try our very, very hardest. Lots to talk about, of course. I was off. I took a long hiatus. You guys know. Anybody who watches the show regularly knows I took a very long hiatus from July until this last month. We moved, got the kids out in the middle of nowhere. I started a campaign for U.S. Senate against Joni Ernst in the Republican primary here. A lot of stuff going on for me, and so it took me a while to get it set up. I apologize. I feel terrible. I don't like to leave the viewers on red, That's not cool. It's not nice of me, but I do love you guys. I appreciate you coming back. That was really cool. All the viewers that came back. We had almost 60,000 views on Rumble last week. So that was really cool. We're still doing good on Rumble, and they're still featuring our stuff over there, so we appreciate you guys over on Rumble. If you don't follow us on Rumble, follow us on Rumble. We're on YouTube and Rumble. YouTube pays us. Rumble gives us views. So it's kind of, one of those things where you're like, well, what are you going to do? You got to stream to both. So we stream to both. We also stream maybe to TikTok now. I don't know. I don't know if it's working or not. Last week it didn't work, but they did give us streaming rights over there now. Also on Twitch, Kick, Twitter. If you're watching this on Joshua Smith from Break the Cycle's Twitter, let us know. Say something in the chat. Also on Facebook. And I don't think we're doing Odyssey anymore. It's kind of a dead platform. We like Odyssey. We love Odyssey. It just one or two views a show over there wasn't really helping us out. So we decided to save the bandwidth and stream on the ones that do give us some views. We got great guests for you guys tonight. I'm very excited. Before we get into it, of course, guys, go check out toplobster.com, the man, the myth, the legend, my good friend, and old partner on Break the Cycle, who did pretty much all the art you still see on the show today. We love Danny over at Top Lobster. Good family friend. Even though he's not really a sponsor of the show anymore, I'm always going to talk about the guy and tell you to go over to toplobster.com and check out all his fly designs. We are looking for new sponsorship too. Now that we're back and we're doing the show regularly, if you're got a business that you want to get sponsored and get seen in front of 50 to 80,000 people a show, let us know. We'd be more than happy to put you up here if it's something that we support. You guys can join the Patreon Subscribe Star, become a member of the YouTube channel where you can get into the after-hour shows that we'll be doing throughout the week. The new thing is that we will have you guys become a part of the show. In the after-hour show, you'll be able to hop on and ask guests questions and all that good stuff, for the low price of like $5 a month or whatever. So we appreciate you supporting the show to help us grow the platform, maybe start getting guests in studio like we always plan to do. Great guys, got a great show for you tonight. It's going to be a shorty-ish show, but my guest. He is half of the part of the problem. He's half of the problem. He's a hilarious stand-up comedian. New comedy special out live from the Denver Comedy Garage. Not a real place. Mr. Robbie the Fire Bernstein, sir. How are you doing tonight?
Pleasure to be on, and I'm curious, how's this Senate run coming together for you?
It's been so we put out our first video a couple months ago, obviously made by Dan Smots, because Dan is the man. He's the best. If you're gonna do political propaganda and you are a new age, like fresh version of politics, or you're like this kind of anti-state, anti-corporate, anti-corporate fascism type of politician, there isn't a better guy for that stuff. So we put that out. It's got over 5 million views across all platforms. I get noticed at like the mall here and stuff now. People are like, "Hey, you're Joshua Smith. You're running for U.S. Senate." I'm like, "Yeah, it's nice to meet you." It's crazy because for a guy who spent 10 years turning my wheels in the Libertarian Party, trying to make the Libertarian Party become relevant, and then not really ever gaining any traction, and then you go over to the Republican Party and you run to primary one of the worst senators in Senate, and all of a sudden people like want to support you and see you and have you come to their events and speak and stuff. It's pretty crazy to see the difference because my policies haven't really changed. You know what I mean? Like my policies between when I was in the Libertarian Party and now that I'm like working to get the nomination for MAGA, of course. My policies are still the same. I still want to crush the ATF and the federal bureaucracy. We still want to crush the Federal Reserve. We still want to end the warfare state. I mean, these are all the same things that I've been saying for 20 years, ever since I got out of the military. But now that I'm in the Republican Party, people want to listen. It's really weird how that works, right?
I think you can make a marvelous addition as a brash Republican pain in the ass. So I see you teaming up well with Marjorie Taylor Greene and just being a legendary loudmouth. And I wish you well with this venture. I think
That's
it'll
what I'm
be
good
fun.
at. If you guys put me in the Senate, I'm gonna impede so much terrible shit. I will stand there and read, Human Action by Mises at the pulpit and try to filibuster all the bad shit that you guys hate. I mean, it would be actually funny.
What state are you in again?
I live in Iowa, so
So what, you need like 3 votes to win?
yeah, like 3.5, I think, or something like that. No, it's there's 3.7 million people in the whole state. Now the whole state obviously doesn't vote, so it is a small margin. If we were to
And
clear,
you have like 100,000 kids, so
so we
you
pretty
should have
much
a leg up.
the kids pretty much will get the vote out for us. No, it's true. We need a very small percentage of the votes now. We know that there's already some left wing media here, local and state media that have tried to put out some hit pieces on us. We're kind of waking up to that. We got some of the conservative media reaching out, talking about doing sponsorships and this and that. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens because Joni, she's completely flipped the script and is now saying that she's, all on board with Doge and, she's a big MAGA person. It's like, dude, we all remember like a year and a half ago when you were refusing to not call the January 6th protesters terrorists. Okay, we all remember that you voted for every single spending bill that's come across your desk. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is all pork. Yeah, dude, you had the opportunity to vote no on these things, and you didn't vote no on these things when it mattered. And now that they're coming for these things with the axe, now you're like, oh, I don't want to. This is terrible. It's horrible for the American people. Like, yeah, you've been voting for this stuff for as long as any of us can remember, 9 years, right?
So I'm curious, as a senator, are you going to be a suit and tie guy, or are you going to go for the Fetterman look?
No, I can't do it's funny because I'm a hoodie and jeans guy. I mean, that's what I love to wear. It's my most comfortable. No, I do the suits. When I do the politics stuff, I do put the suit on. I think it's important to, if you want to win, you got to get the boomers on your side, especially in Iowa. I mean, this is a farm first state. I mean, this is the state that feeds a lot of the country, and these farmers are old school and they want to see somebody who's going to be looking good. They're not going to go vote for the Fetterman types here in Iowa, unfortunately. I would love to be the guy that rolls around in my San Jose Sharks hoodie and some jeans and some Nikes and got elected, but I just don't think that that's possible here in Iowa. And so there's a certain part of you that has to play the game. You got to play the game. You got to play the politics game if you want to win. It sucks. It's dirty.
What about a John Deere overalls be a pitchfork candidate?
You would think that would work because this is the John Deere state, right? But yeah, they want these really polished. Like even Joni. I mean, Joni, in her, we could.
She wears dyke suits. I'm not familiar with her.
Yeah, she wears Hillary Clinton suits, and she's got the dyke hair for sure. She definitely got the cut, but she her big claim to fame was that she was a pig farmer here in Iowa. She grew up on a pig farm, and she was going to go to D.C. and make D.C. squeal like a pig. And then she went there and did exactly what they did for the last 9 years until Trump was elected. So I don't know. She sucks.
Good campaign slogan. I'm going to make them squeal like pigs. It's not bad.
It was great. It was. I mean, and that's probably why she got elected. She's like, I'm born and raised here, and I'm a pig farmer from Iowa, and I'm going to make those guys in D.C. squeal like pigs. And then she went out there. Of course, her number one donor is one of the Israeli lobbies. Her second biggest donor is Raytheon. Like you're not fooling anybody. We know what you're doing. You know what I mean? I keep trying to like. I really try to like bring a light to this for some people, especially here in Iowa. Like, look just go on opensecrets.org. Their biggest donors are 100% open. You can read who their biggest donors are. It's like all these people that just stood up and spoke against RFK Jr.'s nomination, right? I went as they were speaking. I'm on Open Secrets Washington, and I'm like, oh yeah, these people are all their biggest donors are Blackstone and Apollo Management, and they both have pharmaceutical arms that invest in solely pharmaceuticals. And I'm like, yeah, of course these people are up there speaking against the guy that's like, yeah, you know what, the pharmaceutical companies can't run ads on TV anymore. Of course they're going to go up there and speak against this guy as like a danger to healthcare, right? I don't know.
I feel like between if you start taking away all of the money that pours into the mainstream media, and then you also remove their access, on top of the fact that we now have free speech on the internet, so they have to contend with people like us. I wonder if we're witnessing the death spiral of all traditional news outlets.
Well, I think that the corporate news media as who was it that coined that first? Was it Michael Malice? Probably Michael Malice.
I think it's a Michael Malice, yeah.
Yeah, so
I'm listening to a tow truck outside. I'm wondering if I'm the one car parked in the lot that they just like. I'm not tow truck. I meant it's snowing out there.
Yeah.
But that's why I got the SUV. What are you going to stay home? That's why you buy the SUV if you're in the Northeast. So when it snows, you don't have to stay home. But I might be the one asshole in the lot that gets his car just covered in snow because I didn't clear it out.
Did you get a lot of snow in this recent storm there?
It's snowing right now, but I committed to doing the show, and I'm not going to let some snow stop me. My studio space is 2 miles down the road. It's all flat on a major road. It's not like it's a blizzard out there, so fuck it.
It's funny. We had a blizzard this week, pretty bad. I mean, it was you probably 50 foot of visibility, and nobody stops here in Iowa. It's so funny the difference between especially the coast. When I lived in Oregon, everything shuts down when it snows. Just every single thing. I've
just been up in Vermont, and it kind of a couple years ago I had a gig in New Hampshire at the Shell, which is a great spot, and it was literally a blizzard. And I had my 10-year-old Subaru Legacy, which I had actually never driven in serious snow conditions. And I was terrified. I didn't know that the car, and it was fine. I literally was driving a sedan through a blizzard, no problems. And now I'm just less, except I went skiing at this mountain called Magic Mountain. And I did have one moment where I had to turn up this very dangerously steep hill to get to the ski mountain, but you have to turn into it. And I was fishtailing the whole way up that with my heart just racing because I knew, you're just going inch by inch and just trying to keep the car moving forward and you're flooring it. Because if you're not going up, that means you're coming back down the hill trying to look in reverse and not hit something. And oh my God, that's the most my heart's ever raced.
I'll tell you what.
But other than that, it was fine.
As somebody who drives a 4-wheel drive Ford truck, okay, and everybody's like, oh, you're in the snow, you got to have 4-wheel drive. I'll tell you, the best cars in the snow are Audis. The Quattro all-wheel drive.
That's the Subis are all-wheel drive. I got rid of that Subi and I've switched over to the Mazda. And overall, it's a nicer car, and I enjoy it. I haven't driven in enough winter conditions to see how it holds up to the Subarus. But for snow driving, that all-wheel drive Subaru Legacy sedan, I mean, literally handled a New Hampshire blizzard without a problem.
Yeah, it's wild, man. Those all-wheel drive cars, but Quattro specifically in the Audis, man, has always been. You'll see big, huge 4-wheel drive dualies off to the side of the freeway that has spun out, and the Audi's just flying 65 miles an hour down the highway. It blows my mind. I don't know. It is really crazy to me.
Speaking of the media thing, did you see? I'm not trying to set you up here. You're running for Senate, but did you see that AP story last week where essentially Donald Trump has declared the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America? At first, I thought it was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard because who cares? It's like the French fry, freedom fries thing. Someone said to me that it might actually be a strategic maneuver because then Biden's ban on oil drilling would no longer stand because it's renamed. I said that doesn't sound accurate because I thought that was a distance from the shore thing. It wasn't specific to the Gulf of Mexico. I'm rambling about the non-details of why I brought this up. But the AP refused to report on the fact that it was the Gulf of America. And so they removed their access from the White House because they said, no, we've decided it's the Gulf of America. Now you guys are involved in misinformation because you're refusing to report it. And I see it both ways, because freedom of speech means that if you're going to say something, the White House can't remove it. But they don't have to grant you access if you're not engaging in the storylines that they want you to. And that's true across the board. That's not a good thing, but for example, if George W. Bush wants to sell the Afghani war and Al Jazeera wants to come in there and say why it's bad, I don't think freedom of speech requires that you give access to everybody. That might be better. That might be a better extension of the concept of freedom of speech is that, media outlets of a certain caliber are guaranteed access. But I don't think Trump has to sit down with an interview with everybody.
No.
I think that's a game that's kind of always been played is if you're willing to shill for the regime and give a nice interview, they're more likely to sit down with you, and then you're more likely to get access. And that's not a perfect system. But violating freedom of speech is not giving you pristine access. It's actually removing your content when people don't like, if the regime doesn't like what you had to say. It's what the Biden administration was doing during COVID. The fact that the Biden administration wasn't giving me access to give Biden an interview, I don't think that's not freedom of speech. I don't think they have to grant everybody equal access.
No, and I think there we go. I think that look, they let all kinds of reporters in the White House and press room that are unfavorable to President Trump or that were unfavorable to Joe Biden or Obama or George Bush. I mean, this is, they regularly let people in that are not sympathetic to the regimes. I think that if you're going to,
it's definitely more transparent. It's definitely better.
Yeah, and that's commonplace. You know what I mean? But there have been reporters that have been kicked out of the press room at the White House several times. It's happened several times, and it usually is somebody asking, especially with this administration, it's somebody asking loaded questions or refusing to report on things correctly. Which look, if the White House, if America says it's the Gulf of America, then it's the Gulf of Americans. I mean, that's it. Really, at the end of the day, that's the truth of the matter. If we want to say, hey, that's our Gulf now, Mexico's not going to stop us. You know what I mean? It's not going to really, truly. That's but
it's as stupid as renaming New Mexico. This is definitely America, and it was never New Mexico.
Yes, exactly. Right, and it's like it is what
stupid.
It is. As soon as he brought that up, I envisioned Kenny Powers on the jet ski in a full tuxedo out there, all just rolling all around the Gulf, and I was like, I'm definitely taking my kids on a vacation in the Gulf of America. That's great. I think that you can't say that it's a freedom of speech issue because you won't let a reporter into the White House. I mean, the reporter can go report on whatever they want. The White House isn't telling them, hey, you're not allowed to report on this anymore.
That might have been me or you.
What happened?
You just froze up for a second, or maybe I froze up.
Oh, that's not good. You froze up a little bit too, so.
One of us froze up. On that note, it amazes me how packed in that press room is when they reverse angle and you see all the reporters packed in there. I have ADD. I wanted to apply for a press thing because it would be fun, and I'd like to become tuna sandwich guy who's just always in there. I'd like to dress like an accountant, basically the way AOC is dressing now, with like big glasses, and pretend like I didn't have time for lunch and just always be in there with the disgusting tuna sandwich.
That would be so. I have this like habit of eating on the podcast on the stream, especially when I used to do the audio podcasts with Think Liberty, and
you would just be eating on the mic
every single time. They always wanted to do it like right at dinner time. I'm like, look, I'm eating dinner, man. You know what I mean? I'm gonna. So yeah, there was this long time where I was known as the guy that was eating on the podcast. I don't really do that anymore.
I don't know if I'm gonna keep this beard. It's a bit of a winter beard.
I like
it. It's staying patchy on this side. It's not. Yeah. It looks better on camera, but. They got some gaps. I think it's
as a fellow patchy beardian, I can tell you that
you got patches?
Yeah, I got some patches, man.
I got patches, and but I had the first incident of someone like an hour after a meal being like, "Dude, you got something in your beard." I'm like, I can't be that guy. I guess I gotta just now start checking the beard. You don't want to. You don't want to have food in the beard.
There's a really specific thing where you have to the guy that's like in the corner like pondering things. And he's like squeezing his beard to a point, you know what I mean? You have to do that.
Oh, he's checking it you gotta check it. Make sure that there's no scraps.
As soon as you check it, you'll feel them. I mean, you'll know. It's not like you don't know.
You just gotta give it a nice little
And I have let my beard grow like 2, 3, 4 inches. I mean, it's been pretty long beard. You do get stuff stuck in there. It happens. It's gross. It's pretty disgusting, especially if you have like a phobia of like, germs and food. I don't know. But you should.
I don't think anyone prefers to have old food in their beard.
No, nobody likes it, but it is what it is. So let's talk about this. Over 200 years ago, we kicked the shit out of the British to become a nation. And today, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, I always mess up his first name, said his country would work to ensure the U.S. and Europe remain together and should not allow division to distract them from external enemies. The BBC reported on Saturday. Starmer's comments came after the U.S. President Donald Trump's Ukraine envoy said at the Munich Security Conference earlier on Saturday that Europe would not have a seat at the table for Ukraine peace talks. So basically, Trump's telling Starmer and the UK that they can kick rocks. They're not going to be a part of peace talks for Russia and Ukraine, which I think is pretty funny.
Doesn't bother me.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me at all.
We got to pretend like they got a say in this. They never had a say in this. And Germany, I don't think, wants to have this war anyways. I think we bullied them into it. So there's something almost refreshing of Donald Trump with all of his bravado go, nope, I'm getting this one done. Me and Putin, we could sit down, we could hash this out, and Zelensky can accept what we tell him is going to happen. Such an epic blunder by Joe Biden, the entire war, and now apparently Putin's actually walking away with territories that are so rich in rare earth minerals, might actually cover the cost of it. For all the talk that I was saying. Crimea. Yeah, for all the talk I was saying of, hey, this guy has no interest in invading other countries, we might have actually proved to him it's pretty lucrative taking little slices of wealthy areas, and he might get away with it. It's like the exact backfiring of Biden's, hey, we need to show strength so that countries don't do this. If anything, we showcased we don't actually have the capacity to stop them, and even in 2025, seizing some land might actually be a lucrative play.
Yeah, it's crazy though, because I'm sure that Trump's gonna. First of all, Trump and Putin have been relatively friendly with each other for a long time. But
ever since the P tapes, they both like getting peed on by hookers together, and it's hard developing those kind of friendships. There aren't too many other people that are into that kind of thing, and people that get peed on together stay together. That's what I've heard about people in that community, but. They're like on the outskirts because everyone else likes the kids, and they were the two people showing up to like that. I'm not really into this. I'm more into getting peed on by, and Trump's like, me too, and so they bonded.
Yeah, absolutely. And somebody in the Base Bluegrass in the chat said UK stopped the peace talks to begin with. Yeah, that's something we have to think about too. Like there was initially supposed to be peace talks between Ukraine and
then Boris Johnson
Russia.
Nixed it.
Absolutely nixed it, and then said, "I hope you join NATO," and it totally helped inflame the entire situation. I wouldn't want to let the UK sit down after that either. I mean, we're talking.
I think, listen, Trump's running on pure bravado fumes. And if he can say, hey, I can get this done without everyone else, and you guys are just going to have to accept what I'm putting out there. And also, he's the first one stepping in to try and de-escalate it. Macron was trying to escalate this thing. Like you said, England ramped it up by having Boris Johnson walk back what could have ended the war and saved lives and let Ukraine keep more territories. So I don't know why Trump needs to give the other people a seat at the table if he thinks he can get it done without them. And I think all those countries are going to be forced with that. If the United States says, hey, we're not supporting Ukraine anymore, and we've just worked out a good deal with Russia, and here's the end of this thing. I mean, where does the rest of Europe go from that other than accept it? What, are you going to be Ukraine without the U.S. support and say, well, England and France said that they're going to pitch in, and then you're going to end up in a situation where America's back to trading with Russia because we said, hey, we worked this one out and we want to get along with Russia? That doesn't make sense for anybody.
No, absolutely not. And the most factual thing you said there is what are they going to do? What can they do? I mean, there's really nothing they can do. And Trump knows
that, and he's willing to bully people. Like he doesn't feel the need to play nice and make Macron or somebody else look important. So if he wants to get it done, I agree with him. I don't think you need to play nice with these people.
No, I do too. I 100% back this play by Trump, and I think it's hilarious because he's laughing about it. You know what I mean? He's saying, I'm not going to let these limeys be part of this thing. You know what I mean? And he knows he can get it done too. That's the thing, is he's got a personal friendship with Putin already. He can come in and basically tell Putin, like, all right, listen, if you stop here and here, you have our support. And what is anybody in the world going to do? You know what I mean? Because China's already pretty much backs Russia at this point anyways. So it's like, what, the other superpowers in the world are just going to have to go, okay, well, that's fine. But I mean, we don't know what else we can do.
I use advanced headline analysis and all the bullshit I spew out of my mouth. But essentially, the second I think China and India were both like, we want no part of this and we're going to continue to trade with Russia, this war was over right then and there. True. And I think America thought that we were going to bully everyone to team up, and we got Germany on our side, and we bombed Nord Stream. But I think from the second China and India were like, nah, we're going to keep working with Russia, this entire thing was just over from that point in time. And now we've just been playing out a bad policy and costing people's in Ukraine's lives for absolutely no reason. So just speaking to your point.
Well, and I think that the prior regime wanted this big world war. I really think they did. I think that they wanted Russia to team up with China. That's why they were going after. They were trying to break this kind of truce we've had over Taiwan for many, many years. They obviously want war with Iran. Iran teaming up with Russia would be absolutely detrimental to most of the world. It looked to me that Trump stepping in kind of stopped a world war. I mean, that's really what it looked like to me. Would you agree with that?
That could be. I mean, Russia's kind of already working with Iran, so I don't know about that part. And I thought that this whole thing was foolish because, uh, even Kissinger would tell you, hey, we don't really want Russia and China getting closer and working together. The chessboard game here would be to have division between Russia and China. The whole thing was foolish because, if anything, exactly that. We're driving Russia and China closer together. You also have the potential problem of BRICS and people moving away from the United States dollar. You have the fact that you don't just want to necessarily be leaving dollars with the United States government because they're going to seize your assets, which we saw, or they might throw you out of the financial system, which was dumb because it's like we were the casino and we're making money from the fact that you guys are, using our currency and we can steal it through inflation. So I do think that this was legendarily stupid. The idea that Biden specifically, and also just the risk on the plate of escalating towards nuclear war or having Russia and China be bigger allies, it doesn't make sense. Like what exactly was the payoff that it's worth that risk? But I don't know. What would you say is the evidence of the fact that, specifically Biden was actually trying to have World War III with those people?
I guess not like specific evidence. It's just like the actions that were being taken. Like we know that the United States neocons, especially, but also the Democrats, have wanted a war with Iran for a long time. It's been something they've been pushing for many years. The fact that he was the first president, I think, since Nixon, to say we will protect Taiwan if China tries to take it back publicly. The first presidential president in my lifetime to say that and kind of break this unspoken truce that they had, made it look very seriously like they were willing to go to war with China. And then, of course, the Ukraine support, all at the same time. It seemed so, I don't know, serendipitous, I guess. You would think that any like strategist, military strategist would tell you, like, you're currently picking a fight with three huge like military superpowers at the same time who can all team up and create this crazy war all around the world. That's what it seemed like to me. I mean, even like normal guys like me, I'm just a blue collar working class guy. I was in the military, but from my perspective looking at it, it was like, wow, these guys are really trying to go to war with like Russia and China and Iran all at the same time. That would be horrendous for large swaths of the world. And it was like, I what is the quote? Don't ever attribute to malice what
Malice
you can attribute
to
stupidity. Yeah. So like, okay, maybe it was just a stupid timing, but I mean, it really looked to a normal person like me that we were going to get a world war. And it was scary for me with as many kids as I got. I'm trying to bring up a whole nother generation of people here, I'm like, can we not?
Well, you got a diversified portfolio, so a few of your kids would probably make it.
Yeah, we're playing the numbers,
some people just have one or two kids. They're more at risk than your farm of 900 orphans that you've acquired over the years.
And they all know how to fire weapons and bows, and Level Zero said $5 super chat, man. Thanks. He said you don't have the stroke look to pass for the Fetterman look. That's true. I don't. Well, I kind of do. I got one real lazy eye that everybody always is like, did you have a stroke? And I'm like, nah, dude, I got hit in the head with a ball bat when I was a kid. And it kind of dropped that side of my face a little bit, unfortunately. I don't know. You thought when they'd stitched it back up.
I never noticed that.
Yeah, my left eye is like it hangs lower than my right eye. And people are constantly like, are you having a stroke? And I'm like, nah, dude, I just have an eye that hangs. So it really does. I do. I have like this giant scar up here. Right above that eye, like in my hairline, where I got hit with a ball bat, and it opened up my head, and I should have went to the hospital right away, and I did not. I went to the mall with my friends, and like,
yeah, makes sense.
I had like got the blood stopped, and I like went to the mall with my friends, and we went into the bathroom, and I was looking at
it. Some slushies.
Yeah, my buddy was like, "Hey, that thing is like really open now." I like looked in the mirror, and it was like the edges were like unraveling basically, and I was like, yeah, I better go to the fucking hospital for that, And I ended up getting like 8 or 9 staples in my head or something, but it like dropped. Ever since then, this part of my forehead has just dropped lower. I don't know, it's weird. Could have been
nothing worse than going to the hospital and just needing one stitch, and you're like, I'm a pussy.
Yeah. Well, I got hit with brass knuckles in a bar
Wow.
like 8 or 9 years ago. And it cut me like right between my eyebrows and then right on the inside of my eye. Like inside the socket. Like
What was the
broke my
incident that
nose.
you managed to get
So,
into a bar fight that included brass knuckles?
Let me be very clear. First of all, I was not my fight. I was not involved in the fight. I had been drinking heavily. It was back when my drinking days. I think late 20s. So probably 10 years, 12 years ago. I don't know. Anyways, I was at Scotty's hometown bar in Beaverton, Oregon. It was a bar that I used to stop at a lot after I worked at a bar. I'd stop there on my way home, have dinner, and they have Oregon has video poker everywhere you go because that's their lottery. And sometimes I'd be playing that, and I was there with a buddy named Chris, a buddy of mine named Chris, who was an MMA fighter, like professional MMA fighter. And we had been drinking, and I had my back to him, and I was playing the video poker, and I heard some yelling, and then I heard Josh, and I was like, what the hell? And I got up, and I looked around. Him and this other guy have each other by the throats, and they're getting ready to start swinging, and tables are moving, and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go stop this. And so I start walking over to the situation, thinking I'm gonna break this up. Okay, this pro MMA fighter and this who I would later find out was like some crazy fucking special forces Marine guy.
That's a good matchup.
Yeah, and me, who I did MMA for on and off for 10 years. I wrestled for 14 years. I can handle my own, but very drunk. I hadn't even been in a fist fight in probably 5 years prior to this. But me, I'm like, I'm gonna stop this thing, And so I walk over there and I put a hand on the guy's chest, and I go to put a hand on Chris's chest, and it was just like, bing. I was like, what the fuck was that? I felt it immediately. It sounded like metal.
Right.
And I immediately started feeling the blood drain down my face. And I had a button up plaid shirt on or whatever, and I just turned around and started walking directly out of the bar. It stopped me dead in my tracks. I turned around, started walking the other way, taking my shirt off to put it on my face because I could feel the blood.
Right.
And I went outside and sat down on the curb, and the cops came up to me and they're like, well, what did you do to provoke this? I'm like, fuck you. What the fuck are you talking about, bitch? Like, I literally
they always try and assign blame. It's always a question that it somehow has you at fault.
It was like immediately like, what did you do to make this happen? And I'm like, I was in the bar, my hometown bar, like trying to break up a fight. I was being very nice. Anyways, so they're like, do you need an ambulance? I'm like, nah, dude, I'll just have someone take me to the hospital. So then I had this other guy take me to the hospital who got pulled over on the way to the fucking hospital, and they're
got
like,
a Dewey. He got a Dewey.
Dude.
Driving you to the
No,
hospital.
they actually let him go. They actually let him go because
Oh, boy.
I was drunk, and it was like the alcohol smell is me. I showed him my eye. They're like, okay, go ahead. So they let us go, but we did get pulled over on the way to the hospital. Then I got this little Asian doctor who's like, we're gonna have to put some stitches in it. I only needed one stitch in my forehead. So I was like, oh god, this my nose is broken very clearly, but the stitches on the inside of my eye, she's like stitching them up, and she's like, ooh, yuck. I'm like, what the fuck are you? What's going on? She's like, you're missing a chunk here inside your eye, and it's pretty bad, and so I got to do some special stitching here and whatever. I think I ended up getting 7 or 8 stitches inside my eye, like right next to my eyeball. And
that sounds terrible.
Yeah, the lady was like, hey, if that had been like a 1/4 inch more to the left,
you wouldn't have an eyeball anymore.
Have an eyeball, yeah, it'd be gone.
That's so crazy.
I'm like, it wasn't even my fight.
Right.
And
brass knuckles in a bar fight, that's cheap.
Oh yeah, dude. And it I'll tell you, man, when I went back to Scotty's, there were some people like regulars there that had seen it happen. And they were like, yeah, dude, there was a foot of blood spray when he hit you. Like you could see the mist. It was like, psst. I was like, holy shit.
Did you avenge it? Did they tell you who did it?
No, I found out who the guy was, and I essentially, mama didn't raise no snitch. You know what I mean? I wasn't gonna go and call the cops and be like, this guy hit me with fucking brass knuckles. And so I basically was like, if I ever see that guy again, you know what I mean? If I ever see that guy again, I'm gonna at least say something to him. And I did eventually see him like 2 years later at the same bar, if you can believe that. I hadn't been there in a long time. And we didn't fight. Surprisingly, I walked up to him. He's like, dude, I'm so sorry. He was like a super apologetic. He's like, I'll buy you as many fucking beers as you want. He's like, I thought you were trying to jump me. And I had been drinking it a little bit that night. It wasn't way after my lots of drinking times. And I don't know. Something in me was just like, fuck it, forgive this guy. And so he bought me a bunch of beers all night, and we talked, and I get it, dude. Like, I don't know. Like, he thought I was coming to jump him. I almost felt bad for the guy because Chris probably would have pounded his shit. I really probably saved him from Chris, and then I just took the brunt of it. I don't know. I guess maybe I'm a bitch for not pounding him in the bar when I saw him there, but I really just was like, it's cool, man. Let's just have a beer. Fuck it. It was it had healed up. You're
not a small. What are you, like 6'2"?
6'2", 240. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not a small guy. Plus, you got fight training, so it's
yeah.
hard
I'm
to label you
the same
bitch.
height as as Dave Smith, but like 2 Dave Smiths basically wide. So
I mean, I'm probably the same. I probably weigh more than Dave if I had to guess.
you guys got any tours coming up?
I'm probably a foot shorter. It's called carrying fat.
No, I'm a fat dude now. Like I used to be a lot more in shape, but I'm definitely fatter dude now for sure. You guys got any tours coming up together?
We're in Dallas, Texas next weekend. Not Dallas, I'm sorry. We're in Houston, Texas. Then we got the week off, and then we've got a string of shows, and I got to sit down and actually start putting together Porch Tour because I like to work. I like to do stand-up, and I don't really get up in New York, so it's on me. I got to put the stuff together.
Yeah, New York's a tough. It seems like it would be. It's like there's some really hilarious don't give a fuck comics from New York who I feel like it's got to be so hard doing work in New York, man.
I get up in Brooklyn once a week and it goes great. I don't like the most hardcore political, like it's not what I'm doing there, but I'm definitely able to work on a lot of stuff and I'm able to push it. So I'd like to get up more in New York, but I find, I'm so busy podcasting, it's hard to go in and just hang out. And if I'm on the road, sometimes I get so busy that, I'm on the road every weekend, almost like Thursday to Sunday, and then I'm home literally 3 days getting 6 podcasts in the 3 days. So at that point, it doesn't even make sense to be in New York. But listen, I'm happy to be where I'm at. In a more perfect world, I think I would do the road 0 and just do a lot more podcasting and sketches and just get up in New York and wait till the next hour is like perfectly worked out and then try and make more money on touring it versus working out in front of our audience. But it's flowing thus far, and career just keeps getting better as I go, and I'm very excited with the new material I'm working out, and I have more than I expected for having just put out the 40. So are you
still in New York, or did you move out of New York?
Yeah, that's the other thing. I live in Stamford, Connecticut, so it's kind of a pain in the ass to get into the city anyways.
I see. Okay. I thought you had mentioned that you had moved out because you lived in New York for a long time, right?
Pre-COVID, I did a stretch in Astoria for, I'm going to say 3 years or something like that.
Okay.
And then, during COVID, my roommate just made the living room his office. I was like, I can't live my life like this. So, I just ceded, you want to talk about being a bitch, I just ceded the territory and quietly resented the fellow. And, and
it's like you're in New York, so you're paying like, $6,000 a person to rent half the space. Like, get out of my fucking space, dude.
Exactly. No, it was his apartment first, and I moved into it. And I wasn't on the lease, and I was lucky to have the spot because it was like rent controlled. So I'm going to say my rent was only about, rent with a roommate being $700 or $800 or $900.
Oh, wow.
It was something within that range that still kind of sucks. Like, it was a room smaller than the room I'm in right now, and I spent my whole life in that tiny fucking room doing work. It was terrible, but for New York, that was kind of like nearly a blessing.
Yeah, you can't get that.
But it was definitely, what was that?
You can't get that in New York anymore. It's over.
No, not at all. But it was also always had the dynamic of I'm living in this guy's place, and I was, 29, 30 at the time, and he was like 42, 43. So it just always kind of had the dynamic of I moved into that guy's place. And then literally first day of COVID, he just set up his office and I was like, I can't live like this. So,
well, I did that for a long time. And
he was also, he was an okay guy. I haven't spoken to him since. And he was a real, like, he worked a job, but he was a real booze bag. And one of the things I really liked about him was that whatever he was watching, I could sit down on the couch next to him and I could Beavis and Butthead just sit there and make fun of what he was watching, and he would laugh, and he didn't get mad at me that I was like ruining his TV show type deal.
Oh, he seems like a pretty cool guy then.
Yeah, he was a pretty cool guy. And then the other thing is he was like a hardcore liberal to the point of like I'm trying to like the arc, like he would show up to a women's march type deal. Like he would get a sign
With the
and go to
pussy
a
hat.
women's march type liberal.
Yeah.
And he definitely bought into all of that stuff with the idea of, with a little bit of that, I'm high and mighty because I'm nicer than you because I believe in healthcare, kind of that archetype.
Right.
But with all that said, I could argue this stuff with him and he would cede points and he wasn't, you know what I mean? He wasn't a dumbass and he wasn't irrational. So, I haven't kept in touch with him at all, but we would drink in the apartment. He was an okay guy.
He's an older school liberal for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Because he's probably close to his 50s now.
Yeah, probably 45, 46, something like that.
Yeah, he's an older school. Like when I was a kid, like when I was younger, the liberals were like anti-war and would points and learn new stuff. It's not like this new wave of progressives that are in college now that are like completely fucking brainwashed to the point of no return.
I'll tell you the coolest part about this guy was I've never seen someone. Okay. He would do coke all day on Sunday, and he was good about it because he did it in his room so that it wasn't just out in the living room, but you would just hear him go into like his room and chop up lines. And he would just go through a case of beer, sit on the couch watching like golf and Office reruns. And I remember just being like, I do not understand that as being the way that you want to spend your day off. Just in the apartment, like that seems like the wrong way to be doing blow. But man, that guy would rip through literally an entire case of beer, and he wasn't fat. I always admire that. A guy who can go through an entire case of beer, still be standing on his feet, and is not a heavy set individual. You got to respect that out of a dude.
Yeah, that's a respectable trait for sure. I don't even drink beer, and I'm fat. I mean, if I did rip a case of beer every Sunday, I'd look like Shane, for sure. I mean, that's who I'd look like. People have already told me I kind of look like Shane at this point. I don't know. You get fat from beer, man. Beer will make you fat. But so you know what I've been watching. I grew up. I loved WWF wrestling growing up. I'm a huge fucking fanboy of this stuff. And it was the era, right? Like I went from, when I was a kid and first started watching it, it was the Hulk Hogan to Undertaker to Ultimate Warrior era, right? Which was like the coolest fucking era of wrestling, in my opinion. I think the Attitude Era was pretty cool too. But anyways, these guys, these fucking huge steroided out muscle freaks were slamming like hundreds of beers a week when they were doing this stuff. They just put out this biography. It's like a series on Netflix now. It's like each individual wrestler's biography, basically. They're like an hour and a half long episodes. It's really cool. They got one for like Ultimate Warrior, and I think it starts with Stone Cold Steve Austin. But these guys are ripping like cases of beer every week and still
having a heart attack when you're 70, but looking like that, taking steroids, being aggressive, and being able to slam beers and like still be just jacked. That fucking rules.
It's worth it.
I would take that life.
Yeah, it's worth it to live to your 70, right? Well,
I think so.
A lot of these guys died like in their 30s and 40s though, too. So
yeah, that's not as appealing.
Yeah, there was a time in my life in my 20s where I was like, if I make it to 40, I'm gonna be happy. You know what I mean? And now that I'm like 41 with a child that's 1 year old, right?
Yeah,
I'm like, fuck, dude, I gotta make it to at least 60, at least. You know what I mean? If I don't make it to 60, then that means
I don't currently have kids, but the goal for me is to have a kid or two at around 40 and try and hang around till about 80.
See if you can make it out. See if you can make it 40 years, right? Yeah,
because then if your kid's 40, that's an adult. You saw them into adulthood. That's an adult kid.
Yeah, it does scare me. It scares the fuck out of me because people die, man. It happens that you die, and people die in their 40s, people die in their 50s. I've been a cigarette smoker for way longer than I should have ever fucking smoked cigarettes.
You got 72 older kids to take care of that younger one. So
that's true, and that's the other thing too. Is like I've made enough of family members for you to not have to worry about me anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they'll have a very older brother who will be their problem.
Well, that's my 1-year-old daughter has a 21-year-old sister.
Yeah, there you go.
When she's 20, she's gonna have a 40-something-year-old sister. That's basically
that's another mom.
Yeah, there you go. So RFK has been nominated. Tulsi Gabbard has been nominated. Pete Hegseth got nominated. So all these people that the Democrats said would not get nominated have been nominated. What's your take on RFK, man? I know were you on the show when Dave had him on?
No, I tend not to do the guest episodes unless it's like a very specifically a financial personality, and then sometimes Dave will have me on with them. No, I've yet to actually meet RFK. Firstly, there's something just so funny about how television Donald Trump is, that it's basically this new generation of Instagram influencers, and what would look like old Fox News anchors are the entire administration. It's these like hot blonde ladies who are in front of television cameras and Pete Hegseth doing public workouts. It's like, just, you know what I mean? It's just modern day influencers are the new administration, which includes Tulsi and RFK. I think the fact that Tulsi and RFK got in are showcasing just how strong and mighty Donald Trump is right now, that the other Republicans couldn't really dissent. And so I think it's interesting that he got them in. I got mixed feelings with RFK Jr. I mean, he was one of the best voices during COVID, and he went so far. I wasn't, for all the research I was doing, I was never reading the Child Health Defense website because it looked too kooky and was too out there. When I read or listened to that book, I was like, oh my God, he's making Fauci sound like a mass murderer. So on the topic of COVID, you know, he was out there and he was ballsy, and my God, do I hope that he corrects that wrong and he goes after Fauci. But, you know, I also sometimes listen to him and think he's full of shit. And he does have a profit incentive coming in for having worked from, you know, suing these organizations. And that's kind of neutral. It could be good. It could be bad. So, you know, I'm very neutral on Bobby Kennedy. I think he's an interesting personality, and he's sharing an important message about all the chemicals in the food, and that, you know, maybe all these vaccines aren't that helpful. And obviously Fauci's a criminal. And so I hope he gets after it and he cleans up some of the system. But I'm somewhat neutral on him, and I'm curious to see what he actually does from the post.
Sure. My wife and I had a date last night for Valentine's Day. It's the first time we've been on a date, I think, 3 years.
I had a date last night. I lit a candle and jerked myself off 3 times.
Nice, dude. You know, sometimes
as opposed to the typical one. You know,
did you do
it was a nice Valentine's Day
in a mirror though, because then that's when you're really.
Yeah, and I put up flowers. I really had a nice evening with myself.
Well, I haven't been on a date with my wife in 3 years. With the amount of kids we have, it's impossible to get a babysitter. This is something that we deal with, and we, you know, both her parents live in Arizona. My mom lives in Oregon, so we don't really get babysitters, and that's just the life we chose. But last night, my oldest daughter, who's more responsible now, was like, "Come watch the kids. You guys go out." So we went out to dinner, and we were talking about this last night. My wife was she was one of the founders of Informed Choice Iowa, which is the medical healthcare freedom group here in Iowa, and they have the ICI conference every year, and big speakers come. RFK was a regular attendee, and she's worked, you know, spoken with him, and he's given talks, and she for a long time wanted to be like intern for him. You know, thank God my wife never got involved with the Kennedys, otherwise she probably wouldn't be my wife anymore. But you know how it goes. Anyway, so I was telling her this last night. You know, that I'm watching all these people get up there, these politicians, senators, and that are speaking out against RFK. And all of them, like I said, they're all biggest donors are Raytheon, APAC, Blackstone, Apollo Management. Every one of them had Apollo Management and Blackstone. Every single person who got up and spoke against her. And then what's the other one? Katie's List or whatever, that tries to go for the women. All the women had that one. But anyway, so I'm watching them and I'm going, okay, their biggest donors have literal investment arms of their firms that invest in pharmaceutical companies only. That's what they do. You know, the Apollo Management has the Apollo Healthcare Ventures. Blackstone has Blackstone Sciences or Life Sciences or something like that just does pharmaceutical companies. It keeps it off their main ledger. So when you go, I had this argument with some retard on Facebook yesterday who was like, oh, no, none of these people invest in pharmaceutical companies. I'm like, dude, they have literal separate arms of their companies that just only invest in those things. Well, it's not even 10% of their portfolio. You're looking at Blackstone's like main portfolio. You're not looking at their side ventures with their other arms, right? Anyways, so it is what it is, no big deal. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, who am I going to fucking trust here, dude? Okay. Am I going to trust the guy who literally spent his entire career going after those pharmaceutical companies for the harm that they've done to people, or the people who are being funded by those investors for those pharmaceutical companies that are telling me that he's going to be do a disservice to my health and my children's health and all this stuff, right? And then it got me thinking again. I made another post on Twitter about it today, but how fucking crazy is it? And I spent 4 years on this show talking about the COVID regime, and I've been kicked off Facebook and Twitter and all kinds of shit because of it at one point or another. But how fucking crazy is it that the last administration was able to get every single American that is against the healthcare for-profit scheme to turn in and excommunicate their neighbors for not going along with an emergency protocol that was put out by fucking Pfizer and Moderna. What this the greatest trick the devil ever pulled saying? Like, that's it. That's the one. These are the people who are so against the healthcare system because it's for profit. And somehow they got on board with emergency protocols put out by the worst for-profit companies in the fucking country and turned in and excommunicated their neighbors. And so I don't trust those people anymore. I'm gonna go ahead. Like, RFK don't see eye to eye on, probably a lot of shit. There's things that he talked about bailing out the housing crisis with government-backed bonds. Like, come on, dude, that's been tried before. You know what I mean? It doesn't really work, dog. We've tried. We've been here. We've seen it. It doesn't work. But the guy that actually went after these big companies that are harming children that I've met, my wife has met and heard a million of these stories from people that have had their children harmed by this stuff. And so I'm going to trust the guy that was going after those people and trying to take them down, as opposed to the politicians that are getting funded by these same people that are telling me that he's bad for my health. So that's how I feel about RFK. I'm not on board with everything that RFK does, but man, I would have definitely confirmed him in this position, especially after the 4 years we dealt with the COVID regime. What a fucking change that's going to be. You know what I mean?
I have my reservations. It certainly is exciting, but let's see how it plays out. I mean, in the last administration, Trump even got rid of some people pretty quickly. Bannon would be a pretty good example. So I think Trump did a great job of putting together a winning coalition, and part of that was getting RFK Jr.'s endorsement and giving him a position in the administration. They're being ballsier than I would have expected with the headway that Doge is making. So it seems like Trump is actually not just cutting deals with the regime, with the exception of whatever the hell is going on in Israel, and Netanyahu seeming like he's the chief boss at the table with dirt on everybody. But with all that said, it's exciting, but I have nothing really to go on for what RFK Jr. is actually going to do. So, it's time to. Yeah, I don't want to pull an Alex Jones and get too excited and go. I have it on good authority. I know what he's going to do, and by tomorrow, every single person is going to be in jail from these companies and organizations. I don't know what he's going to do. But it's exciting. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I do think it's a winning coalition. I think, I think that was exactly. He came to the funniest thing ever. Were you at the Libertarian National Convention? Did you come there with?
I don't remember why I couldn't make it, but I must have had another gig or something going on. And I remember I'd agreed to Childerberg. I love doing Childerberg.
Childerberg rules.
After I'd agreed to it, I wasn't going to bail on doing it. I don't typically get FOMO, but when I heard the roster of people that were going to be at the Libertarian National Convention, I definitely was like, that would have been real cool to have been there. Number one on my list is I would just really like to meet Thomas Massey.
Sure.
I'm not big on celebrities, but I feel like he's a guy I could have a beer with and maybe even have a bit of a friendship with, and I love the work that he's doing. So I haven't had the opportunity yet to meet him, and when I saw that he was out there hanging around, I was like, damn, I might have missed my chance here. But so I missed it. I was at Childerberg, which was a blast as well, and I wasn't gonna bail once I'd committed to that. But when I saw the names of people, I guess I don't. Politics is my WWF over here, so yeah, the big celebrities coming in. I wanted to meet some of these folks.
Yeah, there were some cool people there, and I'll say I have it on good authority that like Dave Smith, Thomas Massey watches every episode of Break the Cycle. So he may have heard you. He may have that beer with you. I don't know. He does follow me on Twitter, so if he sees this and he sees this on Twitter, hey, go have a beer with our buddy Rob. He is fun.
I'll come down to DC. I don't know the laws on taking someone out for dinner or whatever, but
I think you can take somebody out to dinner.
Whatever is allowed. Open invitation. I'll show up to your farm, Mr. Massey, if you'll invite me.
Yeah, Kentucky's the spot. I've had drinks with Robbie. He's a good dude to have a drink with. Funny guy. He might be on his phone the whole time, but he's pretty funny. If you haven't seen his stand up, holy shit, he's hilarious. You're like almost schizo posting in real life when you do your stand up. It's my favorite, dude. I fucking love it.
What do you mean by schizo
posting?
Like,
you're like your topics are like rapid fire, dude. The way you go through your jokes is just it's perfect. I love it. I'm a fan.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate
I'm a fan
that.
of your comedy. It's some of my favorite. Where can people find you, support you, listen to you, all those good things?
Robbie the Fire, all social media platforms, and the Run Your Mouth podcast is my personal podcast. Cranking out 1 or 2 episodes a week, trying to get to more. And if you've never checked it out, the last 2 episodes back was a particularly great one. The last one, the first 30 minutes were great, and then we had some tech issues. But I put together these funny news intros that I put a lot of work into, and I think is some of my best work. So even if you don't want to check out the full show, I think those are worth scoping out if you haven't yet.
Yeah, man, I'm a fan of yours, Rob. But we appreciate you on the show. You know that. You've had you on a couple times, at least, or 3 times, 4 times.
You're a sweetheart, and I hope you're the next senator from Iowa. Is that the state?
It is
Idaho.
Yeah, not Idaho. No, my brother though, who knows that I live in Iowa, always says Idaho every time I text him. Literally, he's like, "How's Idaho?" I'm like, "Shut up, dude. I know you know where I
they're
live."
easy to mix up.
It's close. One's 5 letters, one's 4 letters. They both start with an I. You can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Rob, we appreciate you on the show, man. Thank you so much for coming on. We will see you next time.
Thanks for having me on, and I hope to have some more shots at the bar at the next as you talk about not drinking.
Dude, you guys need to come to Iowa, man, so that I don't have to drive, 3 hours to see you guys.
Where,
I love that.
what's the closest big city to
Des Moines. We're 15, 20 minutes from Des Moines, man. The biggest
Des Moines.
City. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever played Des Moines. Maybe on Porch Tour.
Yeah,
we'll
they have yeah, dude, if you're gonna do a porch tour, let me know. We got a lot of land. Maybe we could put something together out here. But
how far are you from Des Moines?
20 minutes. I mean, it's not far at all. So
if you want to do a porch tour, this is not an on-air conversation, but like, what's like the next biggest city that's like a 3-hour ride from you?
So
like, what would be the good tack on cities that I could route if I was doing Des Moines?
The cool thing about where I live is we're 3 hours from Kansas City. We're 2 hours, less than 2 hours from Omaha, Nebraska. We're about 3.5.
I think the Libertarian Party is having me out. I might be in Des Moines, Iowa, actually, coming up.
Oh, well, let me know, dude, because we'll definitely have you over for dinner and all that
Yeah,
stuff,
but
man.
if not, let's do a porch tour.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we got some space out here. We got a fire pit, all that stuff, man.
April. I don't know if this is confirmed, but I'm fairly certain April 12th. The Omaha, Nebraska people, which have been one of the best shows. I don't know why the Omaha, Nebraska is such a good audience, but they've been a tour highlight every year. And April 12th, I think they booked me to do Des Moines. So I'll see you out there.
Well, if you're in Omaha, so Omaha is an hour and 40 minutes away from Des Moines. So if you're in Omaha, come there. No problem. Absolutely. 100%.
No, I think I haven't gone to work on this. I got to hit up my contact in Kansas, but I'm hoping to do St. Louis on the 10th, Kansas on the 11th, and then not do Omaha this year because I think all those people are going to be in Des Moines for the event. So
sure, yeah,
hopefully I'll see you out there on the 12th.
Yeah, if you're in Des Moines, let me know. I'll definitely come see you, man, because I've 10, 20 minutes away. We love you to death, Robbie. Thanks so much for coming on, brother.
Excellent. Have a good one. Thank you, sir.
You too, man. All right, guys, go follow Rob the Fire Bernstein, man. How can you not? You should definitely be following him already. If you don't watch Part of the Problem, you need to watch that. Run Your Mouth podcast and catch him on tour, porch tour, maybe at my house. I don't know. That'd be pretty cool, dude. We can make that happen. I would appreciate that, guys. We're gonna have another show for you next week. I don't know what days yet. I'd like to get back to where we're doing 2 or 3 shows a week, which at one point we were doing 5 shows a week, Monday through Friday. You guys remember those? Those were the good times. And then we went to Disney World, and it all fell apart ever since. I ended up doing a lot more work after that. But I love you guys to death. I will see you, if nothing else, by next Saturday. Until then, don't forget to break the cycle.
Have to explain the lyrics of my last song may seem to contain a violent call to action in the verse and refrain, but I just landed in Minecraft. The helicopter part was in reference to GTA 5 and the things you do. So any violence you commit, I am not an excuse, because I just landed in Minecraft. Well, Chipper is my friend and he's constantly cold. Accusations of incitement getting totally old. Make your own choices, yeah, you have control, because I just landed in Minecraft. Obviously I would never advocate force, unless there's due process and a trial, of course. And if you're convicted, we will make you a corpse. In Minecraft, just in Minecraft. You're nothing on me and you know it. No product finish, cause you're close to COVID. Holy shit, I